Well, to help us explore tech trends in food, we welcome Mary Beth Albright. She's an attorney and food technology writer. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such an interesting topic. I love it.
Now, so tell us more. What are these top trends that you're seeing in food technology?
Food technology is everywhere. The absolute top trend in food technology is technology funding. I mean, technology funding has exploded in the past year, and all over Silicon Valley, money is going from general technology funding into food technology funding, because all these people who love putting their money into app development, they're now putting their money into food technology development. And what I mean by that are robots that create different kinds of foods, robo-bees that will replicate different kinds of bees that will pollinate wild plants all over, with bees decreasing in the world today. We're also talking about meat substitutes, which are a huge thing right now because we're trying to feed the world. 2050, we're going to have 7 billion to 9 billion people in the world. And the increase in demand of meat is exploding all over the country, all over the world, all over America and all over China and all over the world.
Now, one of the things that we heard about in that package was sometimes it's a psychological issue. So when you're talking about meat substitutes, like what sort of technology are you seeing in terms of something that people could get comfortable with as they transition from thinking of traditional meat to a meat substitute?
Well, this is interesting because a lot of times when people think of meat substitutes, they think of something that is low quality, that is not something they want to eat. So the money that is going into meat substitutes now is this very high technology money. So Bill Gates is investing in a company called Hampton Creek that is looking for an egg substitute. And of course, we all know the egg is the perfect food. It can create anything, you know. It's got the perfect levels of protein and it's delicious. And then there's Peter Thiel, who was one of the creators of PayPal, and he is putting money into the creation of a sort of master meat substitute that can be put into a 3D food printer. And these are just hitting the market now in the fall of 2014. And when you put a master meat substitute in a food printer, it can print out a ribeye steak. It can print out a pork chop. It can print out a chicken breast. And so if you create this master sort of meat product that has the mouthfeel of protein in your mouth and can replicate different flavors and different fat contents of meat, that's really where the money is. And that's where people really want to go for printing out. I mean, it's sort of crazy to think about, right? But for printing out a ribeye steak that you can actually just cook, and it compares to a gourmet steak. It's not something that you find sort of in the back of the freezer section that you take as something that not very tasty.
Right. As with anything, obviously, it'll take time for people to get used to that psychological block. But one other thing we're seeing is this move towards more socially and environmentally conscious food. How do you see that impacting startups and businesses?
Food waste is a huge issue, and food waste is probably the biggest environmentally conscious issue in food right now. And so when you talk about food technology, you can't talk about food technology without talking about food waste. So we talk about smart refrigerators and the Internet of Things. So things in your kitchen communicating with each other to make sure that, that you don't have any food go to waste. So if you have a refrigerator that connects, say, with your credit card, that every time you go to the grocery store, you buy something, right? And you have an itemized receipt. And so if your credit card will connect with your refrigerator to tell your refrigerator what you have in your refrigerator, right? And then all the expiration dates on that, and then maybe that connects with your computer to get recipes to tell you what you can make for dinner that night based on what's going bad in your refrigerator that night.
Now, is there such a thing as having too much information? I know GE is working on even developing a microwave which will count the calories of the food you're making as you're making it.
Oh, yes, and now there are chopsticks that will tell you how many calories are in each bite that you put into your mouth. I mean, that to me is definitely, talk about too much information. I mean, too much information as in a dish, too much information as in a bite, definitely. Yeah, I think with all technology and with all information, it's about what we do with it. And that's what we're trying to do right now. We're in this great age in 2014 of having all this information. How do we manage it? How do we control it? And how do we make sure that we protect our own privacy in all of this? Because what we eat is sort of the most personal thing of all. And so how do we make sure that we protect all of that too and maintain our humanness?
That is the question indeed. Mary Beth Albright, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Definitely
you.
a topic we'll be re-exploring.
Oh, for years to come.